Hello, welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology as we continue with the single aircraft showcases. Today's showcase is going to be actually a bit of a pain, the SIAI-Marchetti SF.260. And let's do... Let me try Vietnam. I think they should have a very basic truck convoy without tanks. We are going to take a full wing for reasons that you'll see. We'll start at 5,000 feet, custom weapons load, and we're actually just going to pretend this is like South America. So they'll they'll be Colombian and we'll be Panam. Actually, it should probably be the other way around, right? We should be the Colombians and they should be the Panamanians. Either way, it doesn't really matter much. So this is why we have to, you'll see here, we have no weight. We have 1,700 pounds. So if I, oh, I could. That's something. Honestly, I can't adjust fuel, unfortunately. I would totally take 100 pounds if I could fit a rocket pod, but fuel is all or nothing because it's so... The aircraft just has such a small amount of fuel. Oh, that is so tempting. I think I'm going to do it. Because rocket pods are very ineffective. If you fire them at point-blank range, then I think their hitbox activates properly and they can one-shot a truck, but that also requires it to hit perfectly. And the gun pods, at least our wingmen can use, so... Actually, if I do that, I can reduce my wingmen to 2. And then mount a gun pod there. So I think we're going to try that, so let's jump in. Now, my ideal armament would have been like a pair of gun pods in like a pair of underwing 50 cal or even 762 gun pods. But they don't have those. They only have the Su-16 or whatever, and you cannot subtract rounds from it. You can only yeah, we have 1,200 rounds, and it's like we don't need all of those. But it is what it is. I would definitely like cut that in half just to, you know, have bombs or rocket pods. We're gonna get that lift failure a lot. I think it's just because we're going so fast, and we don't really have much of a. Come on, there we go. Now, because we are a, I don't know if I showed what we are, but look we're a turboprop aircraft with a unique Jane skin and dark big mouth and all that. So, all that good stuff. We'll take a closer look when we land somewhere, which will probably be somewhere that we shouldn't, because this, we don't have a landing strip on this map, I think. Which unfortunately means our wingman is going to have to die. But you can see we have some excellent low-speed performance here. So we can knock out the AAA emplacement so our wingman takes out some trucks, which you can see he is doing according to the message log. Alright, let's loft some bullets to this guy. There we go. Very excellent round before. Very maneuverable too. You look, I'm pulling back on the stick and like it's just an instant turn. You can see it looks like we have wing-mounted fuel tanks there on the side. So, oh, I see ground fire. Or is that our wingman? Oh, that's our wingman. Okay. He just has terrible aim, I guess. Okay, I see him now. Alright, so... Yeah, I don't think you're going to find any trucks up in the sky, buddy. Unfortunately, that temperature is obstructing all the was absorbing most of the cannon fire because the hitbox of that is so... Alright, there we go. We didn't even do damage to the temp bridge, which is funny since it's just a bunch of wood. And a cannon round should be able to split it off, but... Or at least, make it a lot less passable. There we go. We got another AAA emplacement over here. I think we're going to go after that. As far as fuel efficiency, you can see why I wasn't worried about fuel. Although, come to think of it, with the way this game works, it might just suck all the fuel at once, considering our only options were full fuel and no fuel. Whee! Alright. So now we can head back. And let's cut off the head of this convoy, shall we? And... there we go. Look at all these munitions just going up in smoke. Alright. Damn trucks, more trucks. Trucks for everyone. Alright, and you can see, whee! Well, actually, one of the reasons I think this aircraft is so maneuverable is, one of the use cases for it that it's sold for is actually as a acrobatics aircraft. So, I think that's why it's modeled as maneuverable as it is in game. Just imagine doing that with a fighter jet. I think you'd be turned into jelly at those speeds. Oh, that is not where I thought my cockpit was. There we go. So we shouldn't have too many trucks left. It looks like we got about 3 one SAM truck and 2 regular trucks. And we should knock those out, and then whatever insurgency we're fighting should be a lot less well supplied after today. And we got our mission accomplished, so we are going to bust on out of here. And it looks like we got we missed this AAA gun, so we're gonna knock it out just so we have a clear path out of here. We're just gonna land at the airbase to the south. What? That's weird. It still makes noises when it's destroyed. Alright, we're going to Yembai, there we go. That's what we want. We're going to knock out this SA-2 probably first, so we don't get abused trying to land, and then we'll land. So, the SIAI-Marchetti SF.260. During the early 1960s, Italian aircraft designer Stelvio Frati commenced work upon a new 3-seat aerobatic design, which was primarily intended to serve as a sports aircraft. Like many of its peers of the era, it was developed to possess aerobatic capabilities akin to contemporary combat aircraft, as well as being equipped for instrument flight Rolls flight. The design drew heavily upon his previous projects, including the jet-powered Caproni Trento F5 prototype trainer and the Sequoia Falco twin-seat aerobatic aircraft, sharing the same wing and a similar structure to the Falco. The envisioned aircraft, initially designated as the F-250 due to the horsepower of its engine, was Frati's first all-metal aircraft. On the 15th of July 1964, the type performed its maiden flight. In the aftermath of the maiden flight, prime responsibility for the type's manufacture was acquired from Milano by SIAI-Marchetti, which had purchased the rights to the design outright. Shortly after entering production, the SF-260 found itself in high demand by military customers, who often adopted it interchangeably as a military trainer or as a lightweight ground attack aircraft. Between 1964 and 1984, the majority of customers for the type were military, while a small number of private pilots had been able to obtain a few, although supply in this respect was constrained. During the late 1960s, the aircraft was marketed in the United States market as the Waco Meteor, although it had no connections of any form with the Waco Aircraft Company. The venture was relatively unsuccessful. During the late 1970s and 1980s, American airline pilot Frank Strickler became a major reseller of the type, being credited with relaunching civil sales of the SF-260 in the region, acquiring them from SIAI-Marchetti in small batches and individually selling them on to U.S.-based customers. During the late 1970s, an improved model of the SF-260A, designated as the SF-260C, had replaced it in production. This model featured various improvements, including redesigned tabs on the ailerons, a strengthened wing, a reprofiled aerofoil for improved low-speed handling, and an elongated tail and rudder. The SF-260C was designed for compliance with the requirements of military specifications. The only structural difference between the SF-260C and its armed brethren, the SF-260W Warrior and the SF-260SWC Warrior, is the presence of underwing hardpoints for attaching equipment and armaments. Sea Warrior, that makes it almost sound like a carrier variant. Which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing could land on a carrier, even without, like, a hook or something. Well, maybe it might need a hook, but it feels like the type that would have a, oh, we're actually slowly losing altitude. It's interesting, so we're going to have to pump up our throttle a little bit. During 1980, SIAI-Marchetti performed the first flight of a turboprop-powered SF-260TP, powered by an Allison Model 250 engine, flat-rated at 350 shaft horsepower. This variant was marketed towards the military trainer market, which soon adopted the type. In August 1986, Gates Learjet was approached by SIAI-Marchetti to modify the SF-260TP for it to be compliant with the requirements of the Federal Aviation Administration's FAR Part 23, thus allowing it to be certified for civil use. Oh, we are just going all over the place. There we go. Modifications were made in order to achieve lower stall speed and greater payload capacity. These performance improvements were principally achieved through aerodynamic alterations, such as the adoption of shark's teeth along the wing leading edge. In 1991 through 1992, SIAI-Marchetti proposed an updated SF-260 with an enlarged cockpit canopy and a revised fuel system to meet the United States Air Force's enhanced flight screener competition. While the bid was unsuccessful, with the Sling-Speed T-67 Firefly being preferred, it formed the basis for future production as the fuel-injected SF-260E and the normally aspirated SF-260F. During 2005, a batch of 30 SF-260EA were delivered to the Italian Air Force for a total price of 33 million euros, or about $40 million. This model, which had been specially developed to meet an Italian Air Force requirement for an advanced piston engine aircraft, is used for screening and principal training activities. Production of the SF-260 continued at low rate until 2017. A total of 976 aircraft, including prototypes, were built. Alright, we can see the airfield now. And it looks like we got a little more to deal with than I originally anticipated. But we are going to switch to a 10 nautical mile range, and we'll knock out these AA guns in addition to the SAM sites, and then we'll land. The SIAI-Marchetti SF-260 is a low-mounted cantilever wing monoplane, complete with a retractable tricycle undercarriage. It has been often praised for its sleek lines and sporty aesthetic appearance, while maintaining function as well, possessing jet-like handling as a result. The construction is typically known for having a high level of workmanship, while exterior is extensively flush riveted to reduce aerodynamic drag, except for a few locations such as the flaps and some fairings. The SF-260 has a compact edge structure which possesses ballistics similar to a jet aircraft and is approved to perform aerobatic maneuvers. In comparison to most single-engine aircraft, it possesses superior power loading and above-average wing loading. The original model of the SF-260 was powered by a single Lycoming 0540 engine capable of providing 260 horsepower. The standard engine made use of a carburetor, while a fuel-injected engine was available as an optional extra. The SF-260 has been described as having the power to be immune to the gyration-like effects of turbulence and possessing a high rate of climb. During the 1980s, aerospace publication Flying stated that the SF-260 to be the fastest normally aspirated piston single engine in production. The SF-260 holds the airspeed records for aircraft in its class over the 100-kilometer and 1,000-kilometer closed circuits. Later built models often made use of turboprop engines. The initial model, be equipped as such, as the SF-260TP, was powered by a single Allison Model 250 engine, flat rated at 350 shaft power. Alright, so it looks like we got four KS-12s and 19s around the airfield. Okay, 4 KS-12 specifically, with a SAM site in the distance. And we take out the SAM site's central radar illuminator, and the SAM site itself will be useless. Alright. Of course, we came in too low. Well, in real life, we wouldn't be able to come in too low for these guys, I think. But in the game, I think these guys have, like, a minimum firing range. Because these are the guns that normally make the big old flat clouds that we saw in our in the Vietnam campaign. So they typically only fire at altitude. You don't see them doing much at low altitude like where we are now. Alright. I suppose we could just move on to the SA-2 and then come back for the other two guns. Alright. Come on. Oh, why is it not taking... Are those hooches? Or... No, I think this is just the game being weird, so I think... Each entity is separate, but the site itself, like the SAM site itself, is also its own entity. So I think it's just kind of being weird in that regard. Man, I keep thinking I'm on time compression. Yeah, see, now from this angle, we were able to do damage. Oh, there. So I think if we just get a little more altitude and maybe come straight down, we might be able to penetrate through the hitbox to the illuminator. It's really weird. Alright, half a mile and fire. There we go. Woo! It was taking a second there. I wasn't sure if we'd be able to pull up in time. But we're also really light, or we should be really light, because we burned off most of our ammunition. Alright, so... There we go. Got a range. I hate how, like, it seems like even at close range, it's feeling like some bullets will just pass through the hitbox. Which I guess is to simulate maybe dispersion of the rounds, but it's still kind of annoying. I'm lined up perfectly, and you can see the rounds pass through the model. All right, so now with the air defenses eliminated, we should be able to land. I suppose if I wanted to, I could knock out, why not? Let's empty ourselves. Gotta pump up that hit percentage. There we go. Alright, so let's turn her around. And we are all out. So now, now we can work on our approach. And this thing just feels so weird to fly that, oh. Someone's got some small arms out there. It feels so weird to fly that, like I'm always in time compression or something. Alright. There we go. Flaps down, gear down. And we should have a really low stall speed. The pilot who accesses the aircraft, the purpose-built, or, oh, I think here we go. The pilot and, oh. I gotta pay attention. This thing likes to, really likes to, alright. Let's, wow. That's just, alright, full throttle. 99, 94. Okay, 88. 77, there we go. Now we should be starting to drop down. And it should make for a nice smooth landing. Up the throttle a little bit. Okay, we aren't going to come in quite on the runway, but there we go. We'll just put ourselves back on target there. And there we go. We're down. So very easy aircraft to handle. Very stable at low speed, low altitude. So now we can, and super maneuverable. Like, honestly, this thing's almost like as far as this game's concerned, it may as well be a helicopter with how it can basically turn in place. Which, in this game, if you're doing a guns-only fight, would make it very dangerous to the aircraft, even using boom and zoom tactics. So we're just going to taxi along the taxiways here. And I think we will park ourselves in front of that hangar. Okay, I did have time compression on. It's so maneuverable. I don't know when I have time compression on or not, because it's just that. Ugh. Okay. We're almost there. Alright, we could probably cut the throttle. Oh. Wow, this thing stops on a dime too, apparently. Oh, I did have it on 8X, but still. Come on, a little more. Okay, it's not perfect, but it'll do us. Yeah, now we can take a close look at all the chains branding. We can see it's got a side-by-side 2-seat configuration. The pilot and up to 2 passengers, or pilot and 1 student in trainer versions, are accommodated under a broad, extensively glazed canopy. The pilot, who accesses the aircraft via purpose-built walkways along the wing, will typically be seated on the right-hand side of the cockpit. Military pilots are trained to control the aircraft using their right hand on the stick and their left on the throttle. While being a fully aerobatic aircraft, it possesses favorable handling qualities, including relatively tame stall characteristics. And I don't know if we stalled at all, but it is very controllable, even in a stall. Controllability during stalls is augmented by vanes located on the wingtip tanks, which accelerate airflow over the tips and ailerons. The SF-260 is a relatively fast aircraft, complete with responsive controls. As a product of the latter, pilots need to maintain awareness of speed dips, although ample aerodynamic warning is typically present. Piston engine and turboprop engine SF-260 models generally share similar handling and flight performance. Speed limitations on landing gear has been highlighted as a negative attribute. In order to safely perform aerobatics, the rear seat has to be unoccupied and the tip tanks must be empty of fuel prior to commencing any such maneuvers, reducing the SF-260's flight endurance to roughly 1.5 hours. Burkina Faso their Air Force operated 6 Warriors, which were sold from the Philippines via Belgium in 1986 and were complemented by 4 new Warriors coming directly from Italy and employed during the Gatcher Strip War with Mali in 1986. These aircraft were in service with Escadrille de Chasse, or Fighter Squadron, in the Force Aérienne de Burkina Faso, FABF, Burkina Faso Air Force. Chad informed the United Nations that during the conflict with Libya, it had destroyed 8 Libyan Air Force SF-260WLs and captured 9 others, besides destroying and capturing other equipment. As many as 6 former Libyan SF-260WLs may have been pressed into service with Chad's Air Force. By 1988, 4 SF-260Ws were identified as being in service. 2 of them were overhauled 1 year later in France. In November of 2006, Libya supplied Chad with 4 SF-260W aircraft, including crew, due to tensions between Chad and Sudan over the Darfur area. One newly supplied SF-260W was shot down on the 28th of November, its first mission in Chad, by rebel forces killing the crew. Libya was a major customer of the SIAI-Marchetti SF-260 with an order of 240 SF-260WLs. The first 60 aircraft were manufactured in Italy, while the others were delivered as knockdown kits and assembled in a new plant in Sebha under the supervision of Italian technicians. The SF-260WL was intended for pilot training, but was also used for ground support during the war in Chad. Dozens of Italian pilots served as instructors for Libyan cadets from 1977 onwards. Their number decreased in 1982 as they were supplemented by a group of 15 Libyan instructors who had been trained at SIAI-Marchetti's facilities in Italy. Libyan SF-260s played an important role during the country's involvement in Chad. They were used as light ground attack aircraft using machine gun pods, rockets, and bombs. Their first known actions took place in February of 1978 when they participated in airstrikes on the Chadian Army garrison of Faya-Largeau. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. I don't know why I was heavy. And you can see our wingman's just circling the ground in place. Basically. Which, I don't know, this aircraft is so docile it might be able to do that. Their first known actions took place in February 1978 when they participated in airstrikes on the Chadian Army garrison of Faya-Largeau together with MiL Mi-25 helicopters. As a result of the sustained bombardment, the majority of the 5,000 troops deployed there fled, and around 1,500 of them were taken prisoners on February 18th. Gaddafi finally succeeded in installing a generally pro-Libyan government in N'Djamena in 1979, the Transitional Government of National Unity, or GUNT. However, the new Chadian defense minister, Hissène Habré, was fiercely anti-Libyan and immediately started distancing himself from the rest of the government. This culminated in Habré's forces taking N'Djamena, butchering that pronunciation, I'm sure, on the 1st of April 1980. Pro-Libyan factions fled to Libya, where they were reorganized and rearmed. These forces came back to Chad in October of the same year, together with the Islamic Legion. Once again, SF-260s were involved in heavy airstrikes on Faya Largo, together with Mi-25 helicopters, Mirage 5s, and Tupolev Tu-22s. The quasi-continuous bombardment, which lasted for almost a week, had a big impact on the morale of the defenders, hence the pro-Libyan gun forces easily took control of Faya Largo in early November of 1980. After continuing the advance towards the south, by late November, pro-Libyan units had reached Duga, only 60 kilometers north of the Gemma. Libyan SF-260s were forward deployed there, together with Mi-25s. On 8th of December, these aircraft, joined on 12th of December by Tu-22 bombers, D-30 howitzers, and M46 field guns, started attacking the Gemma. This week-long bombing caused a huge amount of destruction in the Chadian capital and a number of civilian casualties that remains unknown today. After Habre fled to Cameroon, resistance collapsed and the surviving fighters escaped to Sudan. In August of 1981, Gaddafi ordered the Libyan Air Force to attack Habre's bases inside Sudan. On the 16th of September, an SF-260 was shot down by ground fire near Douaina in the Darfur region of Sudan, with both crew members dying. In May of 1982, Habre's forces came back to Chad from their Sudanese bases, and in June of 1982, they expelled guns from the capital, N'Djamena. Once again, its chief, Gokoni Oduni, had to flee to Libya with his remaining forces. After another Libyan gun offensive in 1983, France launched Operation Manta, resulting in a general stalemate that lasted until 1986. Pro-Libyan gun forces retained control of the northern parts of the country, while the anti-Libyan forces retained control of the south. In February of that year, a new attack was launched towards the south, supported by SF-260s and helicopters. However, this offensive collapsed after only 4 days. Libyan SF-260s were used in the last phase of the conflict in Chad, the Toyota War, which started in December of 1986. In February 1987, SF-260s were involved in attacks against Fant columns active in the area north of Faya Largo using unguided rockets. Chadian Manpads teams armed with FIM-43 Red Eyes and 9K-32 Strela 2s claimed to have shot down one Libyan Air Force SF-260 on the 14th of March near Fada. 5 days later, when Chadian forces ambushed a Libyan armored column, another SF-260 was shot down either by Chadian-operated Red Eyes or by FIM-92 Stingers operated by a French Special Forces team from the 11th E Regiment Parachutistes de Choc. Moreover, 12 SF-260s were lost when Chadian forces overran the airfield at Kwadi Dome on the 21st of March, including 5 captured and attacked. In an attempt to destroy as much of the captured equipment as possible, the Libyans heavily bombed the airfield from air until late April. SF-260s were involved in these attacks. On the 29th of March, an SF-260 was claimed shot down by Chadian Manpads north of Zawer. Lastly, in 1988, as Chad and Libya were negotiating a settlement for the conflict, pro-Libyan insurgents were infiltrated into Sudan, from where they started attacking garrisons inside Chad. They were often supported by SF-260s, and one of these was shot down on the 28th of November and its crew captured. The Libyan government supported friendly countries with arms, and several SF-260Ws were handed over to air forces such as those of Burkina Faso, Burundi, and Nicaragua, Uganda, and possibly others. In 1987, Chad reported to the United Nations the destruction of 8 SF-260s and the capture of 9 others during its border war with Libya. Some of these second-hand Libyan aircraft may even have found their way onto the U.S. market. Alina Ermachi refurbished 12 SF-260 primary trainers for the Libyan Air Force. The work was performed jointly by Alina Ermachi and Tripoli-based Libyan-Italian Advanced Technology. Work included overhaul of the airframes and systems, including propellers and engines. Work began in late 2007 and ran through 2008. During the Libyan Civil War, on May 7, 2011, this aircraft, along with a formation of pro-Gaddafi planes, was probably involved in a successful air raid over the rebel-held fuel depots at Misrata, setting them on fire. NATO failed to intercept the flight despite the introduction of a no-fly zone over Libya in March. At the beginning of the uprising, one aircraft was crushed under a tank during a rebel attack on Misrata Air Base. As of 2013, at least 6 airframes are still in service with the new Libyan Air Force and are involved in patrols and possibly airstrikes against smugglers in the porous and remote corridors. At least 7 SF-260WLs were received by Fuerza Aérea Sandinista, or the Nicaraguan Air Force, as support from Libya in 1984 through 1985. They may have been used in the counterinsurgency role against the Contras and in the pilot training. No further details are known. However, 3 SF-260s surfaced in the USA on the second-hand market, and a 4th is slowly being rebuilt in Guatemala, and they are no longer in service with Nicaragua. In the early 1970s, an order was placed for 48 SF-260s, 32 SF-260Ms, and 16 SF-260Ws by the Philippines. The first 6 were delivered in May of 1973, replacing the Beech T-34A Mentor with the 100th Training Wing at Fernando Air Base. The 15th Strike Wing on Airbase Sangley Point received the SF-260W Warrior as an addition to the North American T-28 Trojans. They're possibly used in combat against rebel forces in the south of the Philippines, but little is known about its service life. In the early 1980s, the surviving warriors were disarmed and transferred to the training role with the 100th Training Wing. The Philippines Air Force signed with Augusta for a contract for the delivery of 18 SF-260TP turboprops on the 31st of December 1991, replacing the SF-260MW in the training role. The first SF-260TP was noted in country on the 1st of July 1993. Under Project Lang of the Philippine Air Force plan to upgrade 18 SF-260MW aircraft to the SF-260TP standard by replacing the Lycoming piston engine with the Allison 250 B-17E turboprop engine and newer avionics. The first upgraded SF-260 was delivered in 1996, however no further details are available. The Philippines has finalized a deal with Alina Armachi for 18 new-build SF-260F primary basic trainers, and all 18 were delivered by Armachi Italy, which was locally assembled by Aerotech Industries Philippines by April 2011. 6 Warriors were sold to Burkina Faso via Belgium in 1986. Despite an arms embargo, two batches of SF-260 aircraft were delivered in 1977 to Rhodesia. Because of the embargo, several buying teams were traveling the world looking for suitable equipment. Through various routes, 17 SF-260C and 14 SF-260W aircraft arrived. The former to be used in the training role, while the Warriors were being used for light attack duties and escort of convoys. In 1984 through 1985, reportedly 8 SF-260Ws were converted to the SF-260TP standard by replacing the piston engine with the turboprop engine. 6 SF-260TPs were delivered to the Sri Lanka Air Force in 1985 to be used in the pilot training role, although they were later brought into the government's efforts to subdue the Tamil Tigers. 2 former factory demonstration aircraft were delivered in 1986 to replace lost aircraft, added by 3 new-built aircraft in 1988. All SF-260 aircraft are based with No. 1 Flying Training Wing on the Airbase SLAF Honor de Papura, which I butchered the name of probably. The SF-260TP fleet was expanded in 1990 through 1991 with the delivery of 12 former Myanmar SF-260Ws. The SF-260W fleet was withdrawn from use in 2001, being replaced by the Chinese Nanjing PT-6 aircraft. The SF-260TP fleet was also retired a few years later. In 1990, the Turkish Air Force placed an order for 40 aircraft. The first 6 were produced in Italy, and the remaining 34 were produced by Turkish Aerospace Industries in Turkey under license. All the planes are used in training and are deployed at the 123rd Basic Training Squadron stationed in Izmir. It was announced at the 1997 Paris Saloon that the Air Force of Zimbabwe had ordered 6 F-260F aircraft, thus becoming the first operator of this new model. All 6 should have been delivered in 1998. As far as the various variants, the original Avil Milano variant, the F-250, was a prototype powered by a 250 horsepower Lycoming 0540 AID engine. The prototype was destroyed in a crash at Sestri Ponte, Genoa on 7th of November 1965. The F-260 were 2 prototypes powered by a 260 horsepower Lycoming 0540 E4A5 engine. Then, when the license transferred to SIAI-Marchetti, the SF-260 is the initial production version. of the F-260, with the SF-260A being the initial production version that they marketed, built in small numbers. The SF-260M was a militarized version with strengthened airframe and improved aerodynamics, first flown in 1970. And there were various subvariants: the AM for the Italian Air Force, the MP for Belgium, the MC for Zaire, MP for the Philippines, MS for Singapore, MT for Thailand, and MZ for Zambia. Then you have the SF-260ML, which was the export version for Libya, the SF-260W Warrior, which is an armed military version based on the SF-260M with 2 or 4 weapon hardpoints, first flown in 1972. The SF-260 SWC Warrior, which was made for Coast Patrol fishery protection, and only one was built. The SF-260B civilian version, incorporating the improvements of the SF-260M, introduced in 1974. The SF-260C, an improved version of the B variant, introduced in 1977. And the SF-260TP, the aforementioned Allison 250B-17D turboprop engine variant of the 260C, introduced in 1980. The SF-260D is an improved civil version with airframe and aerodynamic improvements similar to the SF-260M, and replaced the SF-260C in production, introduced in 1985. The SF-260E, an upgraded SF-260D to compete for a USAF contract with later marketed other military buyers. The SF-260F, which was a version of the E variant with a fuel injection engine, and the SF-260EA, which was the most recent variant built for the Italian Air Force. And then SIAI-Marchetti currently produces the SF-260, or at least it did. I think they mentioned that production wound down a few years ago, although that might have been just that Marchetti's plan. Military operators of the type included Belgium, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Chad, Democratic Republic of Congo, or also known as Zaire at one point in time, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Italy, Libya, Mali, Mauritania, Mexico, Philippines, Tunisia, Turkey, Uganda, Uruguay, Venezuela, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Former military operators include Bolivia, Brunei, Comoros, Haiti, Ireland, Myanmar, Nicaragua, Rhodesia, Singapore, Somalia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates. And of the 860 SF-260 produced, about 180 have been sold to civil users. Most of these are in private hands, although 4 airliners, Atleta, Sabina, Royal Air Maroc, and British Midland Airways, purchased the aircraft as a trainer for airliner pilots. Air Combat USA also operates 9 SF-260s. Overall specifications including crew of 2 with capacity for 1 passenger, a length of 7.1 meters, a wingspan of 8.35 meters over the tip tanks, a height of 2.41 meters, wing area 10.1 meters square, empty weight of 755 kilograms, and a gross weight of 1,140 kilograms, max takeoff weight of 1,200 kilograms, an internal capacity of 235 liters of fuel. Power plant is 1 Textron Lycoming 0540 E4A5 or 1 Textron Lycoming AEIO-540-D4A5 6-cylinder air-cooled horizontally opposed piston engine, 260 horsepower. This is obviously for the SF-260M, which is the piston engine variant. Propellers are 2-bladed Hartzell HC-C2YK1BF/8477-AR constant speed propellers, 1.93 meter diameter. Maximum speed is 333 kilometers per hour, or about 180 knots at sea level. Cruise speed 300 kilometers per hour, or at 75% power, at 1,500 meters altitude. And that's 160 knots. Stall speed is 126 kilometers per hour, or 68 knots, with flaps and landing gear down. Never exceed speed of 436 kilometers per hour, or 235 knots. Range is 1,650 kilometers, with 2 crew and maximum fuel, and a service ceiling of 4,700 meters, or about 15,300 feet. G limits at max aerobatic weight include 6 in the positive direction and 3 in the negative direction. Rate of climb is 7.6 meters per second. And altitude is 4 minutes to 1,500 meters, 6 minutes 50 seconds, 2,300 meters, and 10 minutes to 3,000 meters. Has a takeoff run of 384 meters and a landing run of 345 meters. And that concludes SIAI-Marchetti SF.260 showcase. So with that, well, first let me reset my Zoom. Okay, now we can head to debriefing. All right, so I just out of curiosity, I want to see. Okay, so we have 1 SAM kill, 8 AAA kills, 21 truck kills, 1 structure kill, and our wingman had 2 trucks to his name. So 28% gun hit accuracy, and our wingman had worse at 8%. And it looks like the only attempted counterfire by AAA was on our wingman. So that'll conclude today's episode, I believe. With that, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for next time, and stay safe out there, and we'll see you then.